Alright, are we live? Yeah, I think it's actually working. Is it working? I can't tell. Is this hooked up to my YouTube or what? You motherfucker. There we go. Now we're fucking live as hell. Alright. Well, I'm just gonna trust that it's rolling. I'm trying out my, as you can see, I've got my, mini DV set up here. Excuse me. And I'm actually live. I don't often go live anymore now that we're reopened and shit, but I got the hotspot. Gotta use up my fucking hotspot, so well, what I mainly wanted to talk about, believe it or not, was the Met Gala, and specifically, well, not really, but specifically AOC's presence. And of course, you know, just extrapolate, you know, on the themes therein. Well, here's my issue with it, right? Is like, it's such a Marie Antoinette moment that, I mean, just as the symbolic significance of AOC being at this event, right? Like, what I'm hearing is, well, why shouldn't she, you know? I think they invite a certain amount of politicians or something. It's not uncommon. Although I've never seen a picture of a politician there before. Maybe Bloomberg or something, but I don't remember specifically seeing, you know, the Clintons there or anything like that. Or even Obama. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about that, but I do not remember even seeing Obama at the fucking Met Gala, right? That's just, maybe I'm wrong about that. I could Google it real fast, but part of why certain people are dismissing it and being like, don't criticize AOC is, well, she didn't necessarily buy the tickets, right? They're probably donated, and I think it maybe even is a charity event, maybe? I'm not exactly sure what the charity is, or that's not, certainly not at the forefront, you know, they're not really posing in front of some kind of fucking charity red carpet signage or something. It's not branded in any way. It's the Met Gala. Maybe it's for the museum, but what I read, supposedly it's been run by Condé Nast, I think, for like 20 years. Anna Wintour, right? She's like, it's her party. She picks, you know, the 400, you know, most exclusive, greatest people. It's exclusionary. It's just, it's, and I don't mean this word in like the Republican sense, but it is elitist in a real sense, because it is like fashion people, MTV people, pop stars, maybe movie stars, but to me it seems like it's the typical kind of like the VMAs were the night before, then there was the Met Gala. It's like there's a lot of overlap there. It's about the red carpet. I mean, the Met Gala specifically is like this celebrity meets high fashion thing. In fact, I don't even know if I can really think of an event that would be a more emblematic of that union. And I think that does a lot of times have more to do with musicians in a weird way. Musicians are so much about clothes. It's oddly a peculiarly significant part. That's one thing I learned staying with all these musicians in LA when I was out there. It's just like, please check the video resolution. Is this still playing? Yeah. It's like, if you don't have great clothes, forget it. It's so much about the clothes. Acting maybe not quite as much, because they're playing characters and shit. They're costumes. Musicians, I don't know. For some reason, it's like They have to have swag. They have to have this kind of like funky style. Actors, I'm not so sure. Actors, I think it's more about being opaque or transparent, rather. Chameleon, I don't know. But that kind of exclusionary, I mean, the way that it's sort of like a lot of fashion shit, I don't know. It just makes you feel like, oh, I can't, I'm not invited. Oh, I didn't get the invite. Here's all the cool kids. Here's the Abercrombie kids. Here's the brand, the luxury, the greatest people. Elon Musk and Grimes met, and fucking. It's the usual suspects at this point. It's all the fashion industry, bloats these celebrities up. And it does create a lot of pressure and make people feel insignificant. Well, AOC's whole message, right, is she's a socialist, kind of. To me, this event is so bourgeois. I couldn't imagine anything more bourgeois in our current society. And so for her to wear a fucking dress that says tax the... If it said kill the rich, if it said murder the rich, if it said eat the rich, maybe I would have thought it would have been cool. Tax the rich. I don't disagree with the sentiment, although I keep hearing all this shit about, Biden wants to spend all this money, billions of dollars, hiring new IRS agents. This is like the Democrats' big plan, is they're going to hire like this whole fucking army of IRS agents and like go after, close up all the loopholes. And it's like, I like that, if it, obviously the corporations and the rich people need to pay their fucking taxes. Tax the rich. You're not going to win. People in America hate taxes. It's the founding myth of this fucking country. We didn't want to pay a stamp tax, right? This is one of the things, like, I'm not saying that there aren't people on the left that don't view taxes as like a necessary positive thing. But like auditing a shitload of people who maybe, I mean, if it's only people above 400,000, and this is what Biden said, he's not going to raise taxes on anybody who makes less than 400,000, which I believe. But does that mean, are those people going to get audited? Because if they're just auditing a bunch, using this army of IRS agents to get the tax money, so what, are they going to audit a bunch of people that make $80,000 a year? Or, like, to me, that's not... And where is this money going, right? Like, I've heard this fucking infrastructure bill, this $3.5 trillion reconciliation or whatever the fuck it is. I don't have any idea what's in it, other than the shit that they always say. They always say they're going to fix the fucking highways and the bridges and this kind of bullshit. Infrastructure. This country, they did this when Obama was fucking president. What I want to see is that money going to people. Establishing a universal basic income. The Democrats laid down on the unemployment thing. They didn't even try to fight for it. Biden just let it lapse. Shame on him. I think 10%, that's maybe everywhere. That's not as big of a problem, but 10% of New York City's employees are still unemployed because so much of this city is service economy and Broadway, right? They just reopened Broadway last night. I don't think this is good. It's too early. The pandemic is just totally raging out of control in this country. Maybe not in New York City per se, although I'm not even sure what the statistics are on that. But, taxing the rich for what purpose? To give this money to the fucking military, to give this money to the fucking stock market, to bail out rich people like they did. You know, the thing they don't talk about is how cheap it would be to fix certain problems, right? Like, they could fix homelessness in this country for $20 billion. $20 billion, supposedly. This is the statistic I've heard. That's really nothing. You know, considering they spend $750 billion a year, $750 billion on military to protect us. That's what, 35 times? Or, you know, 3.5, what is it, 35 times? Yeah. What it would take to fucking fix homelessness per year. I'm not sure where they're getting that number. I mean, I saw somebody post today that, you know, supply and demand, the idea of this is such a lie, because if things were truly priced according to that, then home values would be zero, because there's more than enough supply to house people. There's more empty homes in this country than there are homeless people. It's just the banks and the people who run the fucking table, they don't want homeless people to get housed for free. They want people to pay for that shit, because that's how they finance everything. Everything the fucking banks do is based on selling fucking houses. They stole the land from the indigenous peoples. They killed them. They divvied it up. And now they indenture us to pay for little parcels of it to fund their gambling problem, which is what the stock market is. It's just a big fucking casino. That's all it is. It's all speculation. They love it. I think I saw that currency or crypto is like 98% speculation. It's way more than even the stock market is. That's why they like it. Just like gambling. It's empty money. So, you know, the argument is, well, just let her live her life. Just let her enjoy herself, you know? Like, she's not, okay, she didn't pay for the, it's a $35,000 ticket or something. She didn't pay for the ticket. That's not the point. The point isn't that, like, oh my God, she's so rich she could afford to go to this. The point is that it's a part of the fucking power structure that she claims to be trying to dismantle. It is very much reinforcing and creating this 1%, this super elite, super wealthy, super, you know, the billionaires. How many fucking billionaires are at the fucking Met Gala? These are the people we're purporting to tax. So AOC is going to go and fucking hobnob with them and eat with them and smile with them and get her picture taken with them. Like, they're the fucking enemy. Part of it is the museum itself is a colonialist institution. It's got all these fucking artifacts and treasures that it's stolen from all over the fucking world. Ancient Egyptian pyramids and shit. Indigenous people art. There's tons of colonialist plunder in the fucking museum. AOC is sort of is implicitly endorsing that. It was just a weirdly, I mean, not that it's necessarily out of character with who AOC appears to be in the media, but it seemed like kind of off, like she seems so precise and like so like she wants to just like exhaustively explain the fucking principles behind every fucking little, you know, problem she has with this or that. But when it comes to this, she doesn't see the conflict, right? And to a lot of people, to girl boss or whatever, feminist, there doesn't appear to be a conflict, because there's this idea that just like, is this thing still working? We should have nice things. We want nice things. We want the luxury brands. We want the good clothes. We want to be at the good parties. We want the hottest, tallest, fucking best guy. We want the thing that everybody else wants. We want the thing that we can't have. We want the thing we're excluded from having. That's what the Met Gala represents. There isn't anything more exclusionary, probably, to be honest. It's the most elitist. Anna Wintour is like the personification of just being a total bitch mean girl who survives by having the best guest list and the best style and the best taste. These are superficial values. They're bourgeois, they're materialist, they're commercial, they're consumerist, they're capitalist. Right? Like, the fucking Met Gala is not some communist fucking like soup kitchen or something. It's like it's Versailles, right? It's Marie Antoinette. It's let them eat cake, or at least that is the image they project. Whether or not that's intentional, and whether or not like the true ethic of how the Met Gala works, like is it do some huge great thing for charity? Maybe, I don't know. But it appears to be just like this. And, well, the other thing is like, okay, I heard somebody say, well, everybody today is talking about tax the rich. And it's like, they're not talking about tax the rich. They're talking about AOC's dress. They're not talking about the message. And that's not even what mainstream America is going to take away from this. They're not going to take away like, oh, yeah, we should tax the rich. That sounds good. Maybe the people who are already kind of Bernie fucking people will. Maybe. But, like, most people in America are going to see AOC at the Met Gala and be like, she's just a fucking celebrity. It's just going to reinforce their negative opinions about her being like this, New York left-wing nut, like elitist. They're smug liberals. They're elitists. They're coastal elites. It's like her going to the Met Gala only fucking reinforces that. I mean, is that her fault, right? That's what the Met Gala is. It's if you're not understanding that, you're just in denial. And this is a problem I have with just like it's so hard to talk about this stuff because I don't want to sound like I'm trying to take away from the empowerment of women, which is far from the truth. I think there are aspects of this. It's like meet the new boss, same as the old boss. What, we're going to replace one kind of dominant class with another. It's just different people. It's just different. It's just a different mask for the same kind of concentration of power and money, right? We're not invited to the table. We're the 99%. We're on the outside. We have no money. We live paycheck to paycheck. We'll never get to go to the fucking Met Gala. We'll never be in the Oscars. We'll never go viral. We're not influencers. I mean, now, right, middle American can talk back to the coastal elites through social media. and there very much is this, like, but you know, the way that they slander or characterize AOC is, she's a snowflake, she's a participation trophy generation, she's a Disney princess, she thinks she can have it all and deserves it all. And it is kind of insufferable and tiring how certain people act like they have some kind of impeccable, perfect opinion, and they're impeccable, perfect people because they know every little fucking intricate little nitpicking, like, well, actually AOC can attend the Met Gala because, you know, like, she deserves it, and why should she deprive herself? You know, she didn't pay for the ticket, or her message, she got the message out, people are talking about it. Why does there have to be this element of keeping people out, or even like we deserve some kind of luxury? Oh, I need to be surrounded, I need to be in, you know, I need to go to nice restaurants and have great food, and like, I deserve to just be pampered, and self-care. Oh my God, self-care is like such a huge, and it's just like, what is so fucking hard about your life? And what is so great about that shit? Like, it's all pretty fucking facile to me. Is going to the Met Gala better than hanging out with, like, the dudes who I work with in a restaurant or something? Like, no. If you're just looking at it on, like, how much fun did I have, it's like the fucking prom. Just makes everybody feel like shit. That's how everything works now. It's all just a popularity fucking contest. And if you're not getting likes, if you're not an influencer, you just, it's worse, right? Everything that they were trying to, like, undo with, like, body shaming, we're making people feel bad about themselves because of things they can't help. They're too fat, or they don't look, they're not white, or whatever. And it's like the internet has just made that so much worse. People feel, I think they feel much worse about themselves now because it's so much more personal. You know, it used to be like, oh, in some far off city, there's like these supermodels and fancy celebrities and people that just like make super money, and pop stars, and like they're millionaires, and they're the, maybe I, you know, maybe someday I could be that, or I'll never be that, and look at me. But it's like that's coming at you from everywhere, and it's just like people in your own social circle. It's like, oh, this person has 3,000 followers, this person has 10,000 followers, this has 18,000. You know, they're an influencer. It's their job to do fucking social media. Meanwhile, I have to do some menial labor bullshit, work in a restaurant. AOC did that, right? She was a bartender. So it's like certain people are probably looking at it like, oh, it's this dream come true. She's working class, she deserves it. Why shouldn't she go to the Met Ball? It's not solidarity. Tax the rich is a pretty fucking weak message, if you ask me. Not that it's like, I mean, tax the corporations, definitely tax the fucking rich. Definitely. But like, defund the fucking military, fund the arts. fucking house the homeless people. You know, there was a Black Lives Matter protest outside the fucking museum where protesters getting arrested, you know, thrown down in the street. There was no media coverage of that at all. I saw a post about it today that got very little traction. It's like all the media coverage was about AOC, right? And that mixing of celebrity and politics, you know, that's something that people in the middle of the country really fucking resent. It just leads them to believe these Illuminati conspiracy theories, right? They're all in bed with each other. They're all Freemasons. They're aliens. That's why they're all at the Met Gala. Because they're the fucking ones who are in cahoots with fucking the devil or the reptiles or the Anunnaki or whatever. I think that there should be, like, an aspiration to, like, humility and sacrifice and siding with, like, the the suffering, right? Like what AOC did, that's not like a Mother Teresa thing to do. It's not what Jesus would do, okay? Like, that's not what fucking, I don't know, would Marx be at the fucking Met Gala? Oh, here's this, you know, the hot author, the hot theorist, author of Capital. What's he wearing? Who's he wearing? Oh, I saw the woman who designed the dress. She, who designed the AOC dress, Tax the Rich dress. Her boyfriend is like, you know, some wealthy fucking heir to some, like, I forget what the company was, but he's worth like over $100 million or something. I think it was some kind of private real estate, maybe. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. Fucking Cara Delevingne with her fucking, was that a flak jacket that said "Peg the Patriarchy"? Well, here, this is a similar thing where it's like, yeah, okay, she's not technically a man, but like Cara Delevingne is from some fucking wealthy, she's another person that was like, her grandfather was like a viscount in like the British, and her dad was like a real estate developer. It's like she comes from an incredibly wealthy, like, royal family background. Like she's literally part of like an aristocracy. It's like, you are the fucking patriarchy. Like, okay, just because you're a fucking man, like, the people who are benefiting from these power structures, like, the whole reason she has a fucking career, right, is because she's like this heiress, and they got her into this. This is not an uncommon fucking thing. The fashion world, like, loves this kind of shit. Like Paris Hilton, right? Or Kim Kardashian, all of them. Their parents are fucking Bruce Jenner, Robert Kardashian. They were born into it. They're not self-made. I mean, to me, the dream is not to go from being a poor person to going to the Met Gala, right? That's not like some Cinderella story. The idea is not to, like, have everybody have some kind of, like, opulent lifestyle where they just, like, can splurge and indulge private jets and expensive food and drinks and whatever they want. Like, that's not the goal. The goal is not luxury communism or whatever. Like, I'm not saying that people shouldn't have comfort or enjoy themselves, but look, where does the luxury come from? Where does the wealth come from? It comes from the earth, and it's dying. We're killing it. Like, Once again, sacrifice, humility. I mean, Elon Musk lives in one of these fucking tiny houses. I think most people could do this. You don't need an $88 million fucking mansion. You don't need a private fucking jet with your own pilots. Like, we're never going to live in a world where everybody has that. And so somebody, especially somebody like AOC, whose whole fucking thing is about being a socialist. Like, so yeah, this fucking thing with like pegging the patriarchy, right? This is a part of it. It's like, okay, just because she's a female, I don't know what fucking Cara Delevingne's pronouns are, but like, she's not like some oppressed fucking person just because she's a fucking, you know, I hate to say it, but like, everyone gets disrespected in various ways. Granted, I'm not a woman, I don't know what that experience is like, but Cara Delevingne has grown up wealthy, and she's been famous for like the last 15 years or something. So I don't really feel like she's like some oppressed fucking person that has to deal with like how the patriarchy has like fucked her over or something. She's incredibly successful. She's got a film career, like and just like this divisiveness in the way that it has become cool for everybody to just shit on men, and for women to hate men, and men are just, oh, the patriarchy sucks, and like we want to, well, pegging the patriarchy. We're going to, you know, this is the worst thing that can happen to a man, right? Is to get sodomized. Like, so it's homophobic to say it in that way. Like to her it seems like some empowering, like hashtag feminist thing. Like, yeah, peg the patriarchy. But it's like, you're the 1%. You are part of the colonialist fucking power elite, literally. Your family was high up in the British government. The sun never sets in the British Empire, right? They're one of the biggest colonialist fucking empires of all time. So for somebody like that to be expressing that sentiment in that venue, it's just reshuffling the power structure around. Like, to be a girl boss, to achieve success within capitalism, this is not the goal. The goal is to dismantle the fucking thing and change it. Part of doing that is, right, intersectionality, but if it's just a matter of having different people assume the reins of the same bullshit, and like there's this element of vengeance and division. I think the ways that the sexes are like, the hostility is just like getting worse and worse and worse. The animosity is just like increasing, and like there doesn't seem to be any like unity, partially because the women are so fucking vengeant and just like they're self-righteous about all of this shit. Like, well, she can go because X, Y, or Z. She didn't pay for the ticket. She's doing it for charity, blah, blah, blah. She deserves it. She should enjoy her life. She shouldn't have to She should enjoy nice things. All women want nice things. And yet, they can be so cruel about withholding. I saw this video on TikTok the other day. This girl was talking about, this was like a self-care thing, right? I was talking about this earlier. Just the outrageous, like, this is, like I'm talking about, the pampering, kind of like, oh, you deserve it. You deserve a mani and a pedi and a massage and a chiropractor and a sauna and a facial and a... So this woman was talking about, you know, her celibacy and sort of taking herself, you know, out of hookup culture, because in hookup culture, men only wanted her for her body, and so it made her feel, you know, dehumanized, and it made her feel like shit, and so it was just this toxic, low vibration thing where she's in this hookup culture. And it's empty, and men don't really like her. They don't really get to know her. They just want her body. So she feels better. It's a form of self-care that she's not having sex with anybody. She feels way better about herself because she's not being abused. I think it's funny that they've like copied the incel. They want to be incels. And just like the pandemic was like, at least for me, I mean, maybe other people were having sex and just not ignoring the restrictions, but like the pandemic was pretty much like state instituted celibacy. Like not only were you not supposed to touch anybody or have sex or anything, but you're not supposed to go within 6 feet of anybody. Like, Jesus Christ, you want to talk about a human experiment and just like withholding intimacy and touch and caress. My love language is physical, you know, affection. So the pandemic was like, what, a year and a half of just like, you're not allowed to touch anybody or go near them. Now we're going to come out of the pandemic and be like, you know what? I'm going to work on me, and I'm not going to have sex with any men because it's self-care, and I just feel great. I feel so much better. It's like, I don't know what's wrong with these people that like, it's the end of the world and no one is having sex. I can't believe it. I cannot believe we just came out of a pandemic, a year and a half, where no one could touch anybody else, and there isn't just like fucking in the streets everywhere. In fact, it's the total opposite. Nobody at least for me, I mean, maybe, I'm sure, I guess other people out there are getting laid, but for me, it's been an obsession. I'm low vibration, obviously. And so, like, okay, no one will ever watch this. God, it's sad that nobody watches my stuff. Tim Dillon. I see this fucking Tim Dillon guy. They put this guy in my fucking YouTube feed, in my TikTok. This guy has nothing to say. I can't get a viewer, and I see Tim fucking Dillon 15 times a day. He sucks. Like, in a certain way, what I'm asking for, or what I'm criticizing, is like pointless, and it's impossible, because like it's just the nature. And this, I think these are just peculiarities of like a matriarchy. Like a patriarchy has its drawbacks. Obviously, we've suffered through them long enough. A matriarchy has its, proclivities and wrinkles and peculiarities. And all I'm saying is this is just like, these are things that don't seem fair or something. Like, oh, why do women want bad guys? Or why do they go after the guys that are, everybody else goes after? Or why are they... I mean, I think that self-care is important. And I think it's good that, like, there's more discussion of this. And, like, you deserve to rest and relax and to good care. You do deserve a chiropractor and a massage and a facial but at this point it's also very bourgeois. There are very few people that can afford to do that because everybody they've been put in this fucking work death cycle. And, like, first of all, there's a whole industry of people that, like, are subjugated. It's whether it's manicure, pedicure, I mean, a chiropractor, they can make a good living, but not all of them do. And it's also just like, it's a form of service. The other person is once again like a subject to you. Like, you're paying them to displace their own wants and personality. That's just what capitalism, demands for this business relationship. It's not a gift economy. It's not a... I mean, although it's an act of giving, it's also involuntary because that person needs to make money and, that whole thing. Like, I don't think it's glamorous. I hate money. To be honest, that's probably like a psychological or like manifestation thing that I need to like fix. But like my hatred for the unfairness of the system means that, like, it's not like I wouldn't want to have money and not worry about it, but like I also feel like judgmental or resentment towards anybody that makes a lot of it or makes any of it. Like, as long as there's this disbalance where there are people who have to work the majority of their lives in some kind of like manual labor service life of pain and like waking up early, being on their feet all day, like it's physical pain, you're tired, you're exhausted, you might hurt yourself on the job. It's like these are the result of this disbalance between a bourgeois or an aristocratic class, which, like, if you're an influencer, if you're a fucking celebrity, if you're wealthy, if you're a tech, finance, real estate, and it's all about getting into that. And if you're not in that, you're fucked. You're in the service industry. You fix cars, or you do some kind of painful I don't know. And you glamorize it by romanticizing hard work and the pain that results from it. Where am I? 44 minutes, okay. I also want to talk about Norm. We'll get into that. Norm Macdonald passed away. Rest in peace, Norm. I feel the need to be not necessarily contrarian, but like what are we supposed to do? We just get left in the dust, and we're supposed to, okay, here's another thing, right? Social media. I don't know if this is just like a female culture thing. They're just better about supporting each other, but like a lot of like influencers videos or whatever, girls will just post like a 5-second TikTok of themselves like in their outfit. It's just like an outfit check. And it's like they'll bend over, show their cleavage, and like maybe make a little pouty face and then go back and sort of do their outfit. It's like they're totally exploiting themselves for clicks. But in the comments, what I've noticed is there's a lot of positive reinforcement, let's say. There's a lot of comments, and they're all, oh my God, you're so hot. Oh my God, you're gorgeous. And it's all from other women. And there's all these likes, and it's like, look at this fucking positivity. Look at all the compliments. Like, for guys, it's not like that. You don't get validation on that scale. At least not most guys, I would imagine. Like, that's probably true of most women, I guess, too. It's contingent on how you look, but like, there's also just not like this culture of like supporting each other. It's like competition based. Every man for himself. Everybody's judging you. It's also just, it's not in the culture to be like, oh, this is a woman, I'm going to support her because that's feminism. We need to get ahead. We need to peg the patriarchy. Fuck these men who have like, we only get paid 76 on the dollar. Oh my God. That makes me so mad. I need to peg the patriarchy. I need to just like, I hate men. I'm going to become a fucking, I'm going to date St. Vincent. Because I can't stand, there's no man that's, Another thing, just like clothes being an indicator that you're like a substantial person. Like, look at these men, they're slobs. Look at oh my God, these goddesses. These women are goddesses. Look at them. Look, oh my God, look at how you're dressed and everything's put together, and you had to work hard. The thing that I hear, right, is, well, men like require them to wear makeup. Like it's our fault that they have to wear makeup and like make themselves look nice. But then they say they don't do it for us. They do it. They don't want us to look. That's like harassing, but they dress up for themselves. They do it because they just want to look nice. They just think it's cute. But it's like, but you're telling us that we're making you do this. It's like, you want to look nice. You just said that. And I don't know. To be honest, I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they afford the fucking clothes or have the time. But it's like the perception is, if you've got some kind of like really like put together outfit and like, you're really styling. I mean, partially for a man, that's not really, at least in my generation, I'm a geriatric millennial, that wasn't really encouraged, right? It really wasn't until like the 2000s that like the Metro thing happened, and that like as a guy it was okay to like dress up or something. It was always like blue jeans and t-shirts or some kind of rugged utilitarian shit. Cargo or whatever. So, but also, like, I'm not sure, I don't know, like, Einstein wore the same fucking suit every day, right? Like, part of the reason why I dress why I do, well, it's an economic statement, right? It's a way of saying, because fashion is tied to money in an unfortunate way. Like, not that I don't find fashion to be, like, a substantial art form or, like, a beautiful thing that I like, but it's so tied to money and class. I mean, well, the branding shit makes it explicit. And a lot of the luxury or the elitist kind of celebrity culture, like, celebrates that. Like, a lot of music, it's all about, oh, I got a Louis Vuitton bag, or I got, you know, Gucci, Prada, whatever the fuck it is. I don't even know. What's the new thing? Supreme? I hate that shit. To me, that's as classist as it gets. Like, brands, you know, Ralph Lauren, Tommy, it's all about, like, what your label is. And, like, hip-hop culture is obsessed with that shit. That's something it has in common with fashion, you know? And it's like, that shit, I feel like, is bourgeois, it's capitalist, it's exclusionary, it's all of the shit that, like, is evil, or it's one of the aspects of it. Not that I don't find the clothes themselves, like, they can be aesthetically, like, accomplished and beautiful and whatnot. But, for me, partially, right, I don't want to think about it. If I go into a clothing store, it's just like, oh my god, like, I don't even know how to cut through these choices. I can't find anything that fits. I don't want to pay. I mean, I'm not interested enough in clothes to, like, buy them. As somebody who, like, has spent my whole life with very low overhead and trying not to be a consumer as much as possible, like, it takes a lot of time and energy and money to educate yourself and to just go shopping, right? Like, as a part of American capitalist, like, they want you to go shopping. This is like what they want you to work and shop, and that's it. And so fashion is so much. I mean, the mall, what the fuck do they have there? They have the clothes, the Gap, and the fucking, you know, Victoria's Secret, and I don't know, the Foot Locker. It's like, I don't want to spend any time at all looking through clothes, going through tons and tons of shit on a rack. Like, there's more important things to think about, I think. You know, like, I mean, obviously, I do the bare minimum. Partially, it's because in my 20s, so much of the validation and the compliments that I did get was based on, like, the way that I looked. And so I just didn't really want to... but it's mostly just because I don't want to think about it, and I don't want to spend money on it. And I don't have money or time, you know. If I was a celebrity and I had a fucking personal stylist and shit, I'd wear some clothes maybe. But, like... I wear white t-shirts because you get 5 of them for $6 or $10 or whatever, and because they are non-expressive. I don't want to have any kind of logo. I don't want to be an advertisement for any kind of fucking evil fast fashion shit that has sweatshops and all that bullshit, or whatever it is, you know? Sometime around, like, the 80s or 90s, everybody's fucking clothes just became billboards. And it's hideous. Everybody's shirt is just some kind of promo material from some fucking athletic brand or whatever. I don't want my clothes to say anything. Which, of course, I guess, you know, you can't not say anything, but... You know, a lot, right, like the anorexia thing, the body issues thing. This is, the fashion industry fucking heroin chic and like, you know, I certainly don't think that socialism or political activism has been anywhere near Vogue magazine's like modus operandi until Trump became president. Then it became like an immediate thing that they suddenly pretended to care about, but to me, having sex is a way of uniting people. I think that, like, obviously women look at it differently, and not to generalize, right, about gender or anything, but clearly it's a different game in a broad sense, whereas like men ghost. This is the big, I think a lot of this is like women are trying to combat ghosting, where a guy sleeps with you and then never contacts you again. And part of the offense here, right, is like with women, they flake all the time. It's pretty normal for women to not respond, in fact. Or just stop texting you. But typically they do it before you have sex. Whereas men act like they're really interested and they really care and they really lie, or I don't even know, do what they have to do to sleep with you, and then they ghost, and then they flake, then they never want to talk to you again. And so that's fucked up, right? Because but you know, the thing is, I don't know what people think is they're gonna get out of a lot of the people they sleep with, right? Because like, out of all the people I've slept with, and maybe this is just because I'm a man, but like, I haven't really wanted to date that many of them. That's not to say that it wasn't like valuable or something that I wanted to do to sleep with them. And that's not even because I just wanted to sleep with anybody. It was, you know, like it's a special thing to spend time with somebody, to get to know them, and to have an experience with them. And all of our relationships are very temporal and temporary. They have differing durations, some longer than others, but generally, in this era, you know, sooner or later, you get divorced, you break up, whatever. Like, I don't see the harm in sleeping with somebody in a casual way. Like, maybe this is a man thing. It's a form of self-care, I would say. For women, it's easier access, at least in some cases. Like, all you have to do is just say yes, which obviously it's hard to understand one another's perspective, but so accessing it as a form of like self-care, if we're going to use these sort of terms, for women, it's easier to just access it. So they don't necessarily have the same need as a man to like go out and we just don't get it as often. You have to earn it. It's not a given. But what I will say, I think intimacy and caress and touch are essential to someone's well-being. I saw this picture of, it was wounded, like, I think they were veterans, but they were like paraplegic. They were, you know, kind of like Born on the 4th of July. They were, maybe they had chronic pain, but they were like paralyzed from the waist down, or, you know, their legs didn't work. I forget exactly. But the picture was a guy in a wheelchair with a woman in a bikini in his arms who was a prostitute. I think it was in Amsterdam. And it was saying how the government, I think this is a great idea, the government socializes or like gives them some kind of vouchers for prostitutes. Because, you know, they're fucking in pain, and like their lives could be pretty fucking sad if like they didn't have any love, if they didn't have any fucking action, right? Or just, you know, love, touch, physical affection. It's a very natural thing, right? I get why women like get creeped out and like have to make it hard, but like I don't think that this is an unreasonable solution, because these guys, how easy would it be for them to have that experience if it wasn't a simple transaction in that way, where all parties agree, consent, everybody gets something out of it that they agree to. You know, the female, it's not like some loveless hookup where, like, you know, the woman feels like maybe she was used, or, you know, like sex work, right? This is a big, we're being positive about this, and it's a legitimate industry, although it's criminalized, right? Basically everywhere, or most places. But, okay, this is partially, right, like, I've been reading this book, Times Square Red, Times Square Blue, Samuel R. Delany, and it's about the peep shows in Times Square sort of during 60s, 70s, 80s, when it was like a lot of these guys, it was a weird kind of community gathering of kind of outcast, you know, just men who wouldn't necessarily have anywhere else to, I don't know, just hang. But it's not uncommon for a guy to be jacking off in the theater and the other people to be watching, or, you know, what Samuel R. Delany would do is he would go and he would give men oral sex. You know, the man would be, you know, jacking off watching the fucking movie, and Samuel R. Delany would sit next to him, and this was a normal thing. This is cruising or hustling. I don't think he would take money, or he wasn't doing it to make money. He was doing it because he enjoyed it. But part of the point of his book is, well, he talks about how men have a lot of this energy and this stress, and this was one way to relieve it that society had. That was not a bad way. I mean, of course, to Giuliani and to all the, you know, Puritans from the outside, they see it and they go, oh my God, what's going on in these theaters? This is depraved, and this is inhumane and gross and crime, and he doesn't portray it that way at all. He portrays it as like performing this necessary service. And he talks about, he brings one time one of his female friends accompanied him to the theater, one of the theaters, and he says she was way more scared than she needed to be. He said she going into the environment, she was sort of unable to get over, like, her fear that something might happen to her. Being in this environment that's like all men who are sexually, working things out in public in front of each other. I mean, obviously, based on everything that we've been led to believe from the media, you would think, oh my God, these guys are all rapists, or they're fucking. You put a woman in there, Jesus Christ, what are they going to do? She's not safe. And it's not that way at all. That's not the way Samuel R. Delaney portrays it at all. His point is kind of like, and I don't want to misread or necessarily put in these terms, but like men have this I don't know what you'd call it, build up pressure, drive, energy, that, and it's like clearly it's there because it's being monetized through the internet, right? It's one of the prime ways that like people are becoming influencers is male gaze, because dudes are horny, right? The internet is like what? How much percent porn? Like, that's mostly guys watching that. Not to say that women don't watch it, but like, the idea that guys are horny is real, okay? And so, how do we release the pressure? You're going to have a bunch of incels. You're going to have a bunch of guys, and I'm not, right, it's not the woman's job to fucking like, and like these guys, they're mentally ill, they need to see therapists, they need to blah, 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 blah. But it's like, my point initially with the thing about the vets who were able to have sex because of government vouchers, and like the fact that they socialized basically the prostitution, is like, then it becomes a transaction. Then it becomes the guy can get what he wants, the woman can get paid, which once again, I guess this is capitalism. Like, the women are subjected and forced, and that's horrible. That needs to be fixed. But once again, like, there's a lot of solidarity and like promotion of sex work. So I feel like the object is not necessarily to like get rid of that per se. But why not use it like as a way to solve this problem? Or if it is a problem, I don't know. I mean, to me, I think it would be better if people could connect more in whatever way. And for me, that definitely means like physicality. And it feels like there's so many obstacles to that in just our society is like trending towards division, the sexes, the genders more or less turning their backs on each other. Women are gaining power, and at the same time they're like hating men and wanting to punish men and seeing it as like some kind of like, I don't know, competitive win to like make men suffer or like win at the expense of men because of the ways that they've been oppressed or something. I mean, it's another one of these examples of the sins of the father. You know, this is something that wasn't necessarily my fault. You know, I mean, I've never really had much power. I mean, although I'm sure I've been a beneficiary, right, of like privilege and patriarchy in a lot of ways. It's not all. It's complicated for everybody. Is the fucking point. Everyone has got some kind of fucking struggle, inconvenience, complication, pain. It doesn't seem like people really want to try to understand each other and find unity. It seems like they're just like splintering more and more into their I mean, and everything is political. You know, like I can't stand it when people say, I'm not political. It's not political at all. Like everything is political. Like you can't not be political. Like what you do for your job, where you eat, like who your fucking friends are. Like it's all political. It's just most people have been trained to get uncomfortable when it's openly discussed and to just like get uncomfortable with anybody who disagrees with them. I know that I do. Anybody in my life who has ever like implied or even like not even implied but just like indicated that they have even a tinge of like Republican sympathy, more often than not I just like that I can't really be friends or take them that seriously after that. I mean, with people in my family it's a little different. Like well, like I was thinking about earlier, this guy who we were always trying to like maybe play in a band with. I remember having a conversation with him in like 6th grade, and he was a Republican. He was talking about Bob Dole. He liked Bob Dole, and he was talking about the capital gains tax. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I always just thought, you know, this guy's lame. It doesn't matter that he plays fucking guitar and like he tries to be a musician and shit. It's like he's a fucking Republican. Like he doesn't get it. Like you're not. I don't think you can really be an artist or a human being. I don't know. If all you care about is money, if you're rich, right? If you're like a fucking dumbass Republican who's like, I hate taxes, I hate the government, then you're just an idiot. But like if you're rich and you're smart and you know what you're doing and you choose to be a Republican, like you're a piece of shit. I don't know. I feel like this is one thing I've noticed just like with the internet is just like I feel like everybody plays music now or like aspires to play music. And one thing I've noticed with a lot of my rich friends is like they are very interested in music. It's like, you know, for a lot of Republican like soulless fucking people, more or less. Not that they seem soulless like personality wise, but just like their ethics. If you really want to get down to your ethics, if you're some super capitalist free market person, like I'm sorry, but maybe it's some antiquated thing, but like to me the politics and specifically the liberal politics are like essential to the art. you know, in all forms probably. But music, I mean, specifically with like the 60s, right? That's just the way I was raised. My parents, right, my dad's a musician, and it seemed like pretty essential to the fucking process to be politically wanting the best for the most human beings and to be the best person you could be. Whereas, I don't know, a lot of people now, it's just like they don't, it's like a hobby, right? Like, didn't everybody's got some kind of like music room in their house, or they're like recording some shit, or like I play guitar and like I write songs. I want to become a better songwriter. Like, I'm working on my social media presence and my fucking Bandcamp, and I'm doing some recording. I got like my recording. It's like, but you're fucking alt-right. You're Richard Spencer, or whoever that guy is. Like, what the fuck? You're not allowed to do this. You know, art is for people with principles. And I heard an interesting thing about how childhood trauma, like, often leads people to be like exceptional at channeling, because like the trauma makes you want to get away from yourself and causes you to kind of displace yourself, and that allows like the host or whatever the channel to come through you. I thought that was kind of because it is often people with like extreme childhood trauma that become like the most vivid kind of impactful artists. You know, John Lennon's mom was hit by a fucking car when he was 16. His dad wasn't around. Who else? I don't know. I mean, you can think about that, but I thought that was kind of an interesting, well, going back to this idea of like music, like everybody's got a fucking SoundCloud, everybody's got a recording project, even lame asses, even fucking, it's just art washing. It's just kind of a fucking, well, because everybody loves music, you know, music is the most fulfilling thing, I think, to experience, because it's so totally vibrationally subsuming. Everybody wants that. It kind of transubstantiates us as people, I think. I also wanted to talk about Norm. And this kind of ties in because, you know, I think Norm's great. And I do think he was weirdly like an early influence. Particularly because I watched those fucking Saturday Night Live reruns like ad infinitum. When I was in the 90s, basically all I did from, you know, 94 to like 2002 was like watch Saturday Night Live reruns on Comedy Channel. And whatever the fuck they were showing, you know, Daily Show, Dr. Katz, stand-up shit, Premium Blend, all of it. And they, you know, Norm hosted fucking Weekend Update. I think Chevy Chase said he was the best person to ever do it after him. A lot of people, I think, have said that Norm was the best after Chevy Chase. Although I will say, don't sell his impersonations short, because his impersonations, he didn't do that many of them, but when he did them, they were really the best, actually. Like, his Letterman impersonation is uncanny, really. It's probably the best Letterman ever, I would say. Probably, I mean, it's so fucking on. It's crazy. He's similar to Letterman, so it's not, like, he doesn't do, somebody way out of his way. He does Burt Reynolds and Letterman. Like, he's not that different than those guys. He's kind of a combination of the two, actually. Norm is like a combo of Dave and Burt. But his Burt Reynolds, like, that's the funniest shit. Turd Ferguson and haha. It's just like, he did that in Weekend Update, but I do want to say, well, okay, so Norm, I think, was an early influence because his jokes about Frank Stallone, he just landed so hard on that fucking punchline, and this was kind of like a Norm trademark, is like, he does do, like, typical joke form stuff, but he's so, like, deadpan, and he just, like, leans into it so hard, and he uses the fucking silence. He's one of those guys that's just like, if you met him in real life, you can tell he'd be saying shit, and just like you wouldn't be able to tell if he was like jerking your chain or not. You'd be like, is this guy fucking for real? Like, because he just like he just like lets the shit land, and it's so stupid. But that's kind of like what's so, I don't know, funny about it. Like, the Frank Stallone jokes were literally just like, I'd be like, there's 26 shopping days left to Christmas, but I don't even remember. Walmart would be going at it. And you know who you can blame for this? You guessed it, Frank Stallone. And then you go to, and they'd show that fucking picture of Frank Stallone that's like his glamour headshot from the 80s. And just the fact that he, like, leaned into the Frank Stallone and just, like, sat, and then the audience would sort of laugh a little bit. And then it'd kind of get funnier, and they'd be like, what's with, a lot of his jokes were like that, where it's, like, anti-humor, I guess, maybe, where it's, like, there really isn't a joke. It's kind of more about, like, just that he's rambling. Like, a lot of the shit he would do on Conan or whatever, where he'd, like, tell super long stories and shit. He'd be, like, rambling. But part of it is, like, I don't know. I do think Norm is, like, the epitome of, like, sort of comedy guy in a way. And I don't know. I think he'd spawned a lot of bad, like, male comedians. Like, his kind of, like, sarcastic, he's very, like, what's the word? Like, spare? Like, Norm chooses his words, like, simply and carefully, I think. He's laconic, is that the word? Maybe that's not right. But, like, I don't know. I just remember a few years ago, my buddy, who's a fucking, super capitalist, we were going to Colorado or something, and he was like, we're just trying to find shit to listen to on the way. He's like, oh, there's this Norm thing that's really funny. And it was like some super long fucking story about some shallow grave. He kept using the word shallow grave, and it was like somebody getting buried and shit. And it's just like, I didn't think it was really funny. It was so, like, comedy mind, right? Like, there's a kind of stupidity that goes with Norm. Like, he kind of, like, says the shit that's, like, so simple and so stupid, but it's also kind of, like, hits and kind of impactful. because it's so like obvious, or like but like, you know, I think for people that are like comedy nerds, which is like shitloads of people in this fucking country, like Norm is like a god. But like, I don't know, as somebody who's a little more well-rounded, like, he's cool, like, but I also think that, like, he appears cooler when you just kind of see him. When he starts to talk a lot, when you start to listen to him a lot, he starts to reveal that he's just kind of an insecure, nerdy comedian guy. When you see Norm, you're like, wow, this guy's tall and he's like handsome. He's like, he looks kind of macho. And I think he liked, like, he never really explicitly came out against Trump. I think he was religious. I don't think he was pro-Trump, but, like, I also think that he was, like, he's from, like, rural Canada someplace, and I think he probably has a certain respect or understanding of, you know, dumbass rural people who are right-wing nutcases, and he's probably sort of one of them in a way. Not deeply, like, I'd say he's probably, you know, but I also think he was kind of like a red meat kind of guy. At least that's part of his persona, I feel like. Like, there is, like, the Burt Reynolds thing. I do feel like there's something that's like a little bit stoic, kind of manly, like Western or something. Jesus Christ. Like, he's a little bit of a cowboy. That kind of macho, reticent, Clint Eastwood type thing. And I don't know, like, a lot of the shit, it's funny, but, like, do I really want to spend a lot of time, like, watching Norm, like, at the roast, like, doing fucking anti-humor for 10 minutes or something? Like, I don't know. I'm not, like, there was a picture of him that Gilbert Gottfried shared, and it was him, Gilbert Gottfried, Bob Saget, and Jeffrey Ross, and I'm like, yeah, like, those are the fucking, like, comedy seller guys. Like, they're kind of toxic in a way. The ways that they're, like, there's something, like, adolescent or infantile or arrested about their worldview that makes it, like, digestible as comedy kind of, you know, content, simplifies it, clarifies the world, makes it impactful, makes it funny, makes it this autonomic reaction. I think Norm wanted to be a writer and was a writer, but I think he was, like, literary. I think he aspired to be. He mentioned some shit on Twitter because he was pretty active on Twitter, at least until the last couple years, like during the whole Trump shit, or, you know, 2014, 2015, 2016. He would tweet pretty regularly. Almost always about, like, golf. He would, like, live commentate the golf match, almost like he was a golf announcer, in, like, this very serious fucking... That was kind of what was fun about it, is, like, he sounded like some guy at the bar who bets on sports all the time, who, like, knows shitloads about it, and is, like, really interesting and kind of a hard ass, and, like, just has that kind of, like, swag. Like he's fucking Maverick or something. I don't know. He's like talking about the golf tournament. Rory McIlroy will not win. Tiger can't afford to miss this. Shit like that. But he would tweet stuff that was like writerly. Like I got the impression maybe he sort of wanted to be like a Hemingway, Faulkner, Cormac McCarthy, like he wanted to build like good man sentences like Hemingway did, like Furniture. And it's like, I don't know, it was a shock, definitely. Like everybody. I mean, I didn't know at all. And he's been pretty visible, I'd say. He had a Netflix special not even that long ago, a couple years ago. He hasn't really been out of the spotlight in like forever. Like he's has a show online, or he did, and so it definitely was a shock. But the Frank Stallone thing was like huge. I don't know why I tapped into that. I think because Frank Stallone is like, it was kind of hard to believe that he exists because he's a joke, right? I mean, he's a punchline, literally. He's a punchline. He looks kind of like Stallone, but he's a loser. His music, I downloaded his fucking song from Far From Over from Napster. I listen to it all the time. It's one of my favorite songs. Save Me, Darling. I am down, but I am far from over. And his hair is all fucking like teased out in 80s and shit. And he's just, he never made it, right? He's like, it's almost like a Tim and Eric joke where he's like this off-brand. He's like Joe Estevez. He's not Sly. He's Frank Stallone. So I don't know. I kind of got this like Stallone became like a punchline for me. Cobra, I thought that movie was really funny. And my buddy Ryan Dixon, who was a Jehovah's Witness, we were pretty good friends in middle school and high school. And I think he liked me because he thought I was funny. But his sense of humor was very like Norm and Letterman. He kind of talked, Paul, you know who I bet, you got any gum? I bet I had some gum, Paul. Cheech. Chong. No, I'm sorry, it was Chong. It wasn't Cheech, it was Chong. You got any gum? Chong. His Letterman impression is kind of an analysis of the comedy in a way. Because he pointed out, and he does this too, the way that Dave will sort of make comedy out of like this thing that you're like, why is this fucking funny? Like, so I'm in the Chinese restaurant, the guy Chong, I see, he looks like Chong. Like, I hate this. You got any gum? Like, Letterman does shit like that, where it's just like, he has these kind of rambling stories that add up to this punchline that are just like, what the fuck? Is that, but that's like a very advanced form of humor, right? As the audience has gotten more advanced, and this is why Norm has mad respect from other comedians, because they see that he's like meta or something in that way. Almost like Neil Hamburger. Those guys took it more literally. Like Neil Hamburger and Tim and Eric, they took it kind of, I don't know, to a more extreme place or something. But I also want to say that his OJ jokes, I think this is what he'll be most famous for, right? This is the thing most people are fucking talking about, which is kind of crazy because it was almost 30 years ago. But I think it's important that he was somebody who was like sort of unequivocal about, labeling it, because, if OJ killed those people, and he probably did, let's just be honest, he does deserve. It is the right thing to probably call him out on it and be vocal about it. But at the same time, Norm was like obsessed with it, kind of. He just jumped on it, and it felt kind of racist to me. It felt like, because he was so bald-faced about it, like, he killed his wife. Like, that would be the punchline to a lot of his jokes. It's just something like that. It's now legal in the state of California. Murder now legal in the state of California. This was his joke when OJ got acquitted. Murder is now legal in the state of California. And I saw this clip of him at the ESPYs, and he calls out Charles Woodson, who's black. And he's like, oh, Charles Woodson, blah, 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 won the whatever, this or that. Just don't kill your wife. It's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, this was like 10 years later. You're still fucking, like, making OJ jokes. It's like, it's an unpleasant thing is part of it, right? Like, it's just not something that, like, certainly, like, do fucking, like, comedy laugh viewers, like, need to, like, fucking dwell on this and, like, let's get humor out of this in the most grim way possible. Like, I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's he was acquitted in a court of law. Not that I'm citing, you know, like, obviously OJ fucking, I'm not defending him like he's a piece of shit, obviously. But, like, I don't know. It's just weird how much attention has been called to Norm's OJ jokes and how celebrated he is for it. Because I don't know. I don't really think that it's that, like, heroic. I don't know. I guess if you're of the mind that, like, OJ killed these people and, like, he's a murderer and it's unbelievable that he got off. But I don't know. I'm not really that kind of person. I'm not like a judicial person. I'm not like this person needs to be punished and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm more of the mind that, like, crime is a result of some kind of trauma or mistreatment in life, maybe. Maybe that's naive. Maybe I'm wrong. But this is sort of the thesis behind the whole, like, defund the police, abolish prisons thing. Is right? Like, we need to rehabilitate people. There are better ways to do this than throw them in jail. I think jail is used as a threat. It's used to scare the shit out of the rest of the people who aren't in jail and say, because anybody could go to fucking jail, really. A lot of people have stories about, I spent a night in jail, or, I did, so it's like, jail is always like, if you make the wrong fucking move, if you do something out of line, if you try to cheat or this or that, there's always that over your head, that to scare you. I think that's one of the purposes of jail, but, like, does it actually rehab people and make them better? I'm not sure. I mean, I don't... Norm is great and fucking Happy Gilmore. He's great. He's a hilarious dude. Like, he's an awesome fucking dude. And a great comedian, definitely. Like, his whole style, his delivery, his voice. He is, like... a character. And, So one of the things that he did on Twitter, I've been retweeted by Norm Macdonald, believe it or not. Of all the people. And it's a special bond. Because, and I don't know if he ever did this on a different occasion, but I was on Twitter one night and I retweeted it yesterday in 2015. And, as you do, you're refreshing it and just checking it out. And Norm starts tweeting about, he starts telling this story, tweet by tweet, one tweet at a time. And this was before 280 characters, I think. So it was 140 characters at a time. And he's telling it, a little bit at a time. And this was part of his art, I think, is he's kind of a master storyteller. Like in a bar. He's like, the way I picture Norm is like, he's got a glass of whiskey. He's got a cigarette. You're standing at the bar. He's got like a leather jacket on. And he's just like, he's kind of telling you this really slow fucking story. Like an old man would. Like your grandpa would. And you're like, what is the fucking point of this story? Or like, but it's also kind of like completely enrapturing. Like the fact that you don't know what's going on. And it's slow and you don't know what the point is. That's kind of what is arresting about it. Because it's still something is happening, and you'll remember this, like jokes, like telling jokes. I think Norm liked that kind of shit. So anyway, he's telling this story about how in the 80s, when he first started comedy, in like the late 80s in LA, he was performing at, is it the Comic Strip or the one on Sunset? Not the Comic Strip, not the Laugh Factory. The Improv? What's the one Pauly Shore's? I think it's the Improv, I guess. Comedy Store. I think it was the Comedy Store. It's the one on Sunset. Yeah, that's the Comedy Store. I'm pretty sure it's the Comedy Store. And he said he's walking down Sunset or something. And this fucking, I think it was a station wagon. I'm not sure. He's tweeting this. Pulls up beside him and rolls down the window. And it's Bob Dylan. And he says, I forget exactly the fucking, specifics of the story. I don't know if he got in the car with him there, but Bob, I guess, was a fan. He'd seen him somehow or another and was like, he liked him. And he's like, he wants to hang out with him. This was like, I'm pretty sure it was before Norm was on Saturday Night Live or anything. And it makes sense. Like I said, Norm has this old-fashioned style. A lot of people, love it. It's not necessarily my thing, totally. I enjoy Norm. I think he's funny, right? But I'm not, knocked out necessarily by the kind of, I don't know, old-fashioned, joke storyteller, deadpan, kind of zen, non-punchline thing. I don't know. I don't like long fucking yarns or whatever. The poetry I like is the opposite of that. It's short things and it's like a matrix or like a pixel, it's all different. It's all different subjects and information, a story that's just one sustained thing. It's kind of old-fashioned. It's cool, it's just not my thing. But I can see Bob being into that. And so there was some fucking thing about he was at Bob's house in his fucking study or some shit. And this story is building on Twitter and all these people are starting to listen. It was like live. It was like a live writing almost. Like I said, he had this kind of affected, kind of terse, manly kind of literary style on Twitter. He wasn't just some clown fucking up the spelling and punctuation and shit. It was all simple declarative sentences, periods, but kind of funny, It wasn't really trying to be funny. It was more just here's a fucking story. It's like a drunk guy telling you a story, Here it is. Listen to me. This is it. All right? And he's talking about, I forget, what the details were, but it was something about Billy Joe Shaver. Norm Macdonald knew Billy Joe Shaver, and Bob was like, oh, I love Billy Joe. And so they bonded over that somehow. I don't know. It was just a cool story about how early in his career, Bob Dylan kind of like took, not necessarily like took an interest, but like was a fan or something. And then he deleted the whole fucking thing. He deleted the whole, he said that. He's like, listen to this story because I'm not going to leave it up. It's going to be, here and then gone. So here it is. Because it's a story about Bob. And like, I'm sure there's probably an article about it online that has all the fucking screenshots and shit. But then he retweeted all the people that had tweeted at him talking about it. So I was one of the people that was like, wow. And everybody in the comments was like, wow, I was there when he told this incredible, because it was like an amazing story. These stories about Bob, a lot of times they are kind of like, whoa, that's insane. That's your interaction with Bob. Like, he's a real person. And that makes sense that he would be way ahead of the fucking curve on Norm. But R.I.P. Norm, just like, Jesus Christ. It did feel like out of the blue. Like, he was 61. Alright, I want to do 2 hours. What else am I going to talk about? Fuck, no one's watching my live stream, god damn it. It's just more like people are dying so fast you can't even like fucking stop to remember, really. I mean, that's what this is, but like you can't stop for that. You can't commemorate it, right? I saw this thing the other day. Rolling Stones can't attend Charlie Watts' funeral because of COVID restrictions. Charlie Watts, when was that? That was like a couple weeks ago. Norm. I'm sure there's been other people in the meantime. It's just, like I said, it's happening so fast, it's hard to keep track. I don't know, I kind of have to, I'm going to go to the bathroom. And I'll just live stream that. That'll be interesting. Yes. Well, with AOC, it feels almost like crossing the picket line or something. Because, like, that's not solidarity. Those are the bosses, right? This is something else that was called to my attention, is like all of these fucking arts organizations, they have to completely kowtow to the rich people, and so most of them are based around these galas, right? Where they throw one gala a year, and, you know, tables are thousands of dollars or hundreds of dollars or whatever. They get a nice fucking meal and blah, blah, blah. And all these rich people donate, and they get to come and have, you know, they dress up and they get to have a ball, and they get to feel good about themselves because they're supporting the opera or the theater or whatever it is, the arts organization. And this is how the organization survives, is based on the charity of rich people, right? I mean, I'm not sure exactly what the Met Gala, it's probably for the Met, I guess, or if it's got a charity tied in with it, but to me, that's just a broken model. And this was a difference that was pointed out on Twitter. I follow this one person that's got some cool, interesting theater kind of takes. And, you know, the difference between, like, Broadway and the theater in this country. Broadway is corporations, it's niche celebrities or movie stars, and then the ticket prices, right, are absurd. No fucking normal person can really afford to go to the theater, like, on a regular basis, I would say. It's not cheap. And then, like, the fucking subscribers and the people that donate, they survive. This is just another way that the rich people have rigged the shit, right? Like, you can't have a theater company. The government can't subsidize this. That's a waste of tax dollars. And you're not going to be able to make any money doing it because nobody gives a fuck, and, like, so you're going to need to rely on us to donate money to you. This is how most fucking arts organizations work. You know, museums are just like, this person donated this painting. They donated this fucking building. They donated this. It's from their collection. It's like, philanthropy is like this extreme social game. And it's just a way that the rich people have of, you know, maintaining their power and compounding it. You know, you can serve fucking hors d'oeuvres at the banquet, but you're not a guest, and you're at the mercy of these people writing a check for 10 grand or whatever, so we can continue to do this. Whereas, and this was an interesting thing, is that, you know, the reason why they don't want social programs, they don't want to level the playing field. They don't want any competition. They don't want people to be able to live on their own and subsist on their own. They want people at their mercy. This is why they cut off the unemployment, because they want the labor pool to not have a choice. They need to have jobs for health insurance. You need to have a job so you can, like, you know, pursue your little art thing in your spare time. If you like, you know, even want to do that. Even that's kind of, like, embarrassing and, like, amateur. So, like, you know, I know that my conception of theater in this country is like Broadway, right? Like, the only fucking thing that matters are these Broadway plays. Every fucking theater in the country is getting their plays from Broadway. They're staging plays from Samuel French and shit. And it's like, well, Broadway is like this corporate industry. It's a theme park. It's like film. It's not. It's corporate. At this point, it's Disney. It's investment. It's investors. Like a lot of these Broadway shows, post-producers, they go into thinking they're going to make like a shitload of money. Or that's their hope. You know, if you get a Hamilton, right, like, that's a huge, huge property. Which is surprising for something that's live theater. You know, you wouldn't necessarily think it would have that reach, but part of what this person's point on, the theater in this country is community theaters. It's people, you know, all across this country doing plays, doing lighting, directors. You know, when I did Shakespeare in Schiller Park, which is, it's not equity, it's not union, but it's as high profile a thing as you would get in my hometown. That's not equity. And I got paid $200, I think, for the whole fucking everything. Rehearsals and 4 weeks of performances 4 times a week. That's, you know, that's 2 months, 2.5 months of you know, basically like having another part-time job of 10 to 15 to 20 hours a week. And then also, you know, working in service industry, Thursday, Friday, Saturday are your money days. So you're doing shows those days. So it's like $200 for 2.5 months is like a pittance. That's going to like pay for your gas maybe to get there. That's like the reality of being in the theater in this country. Like, as far as it having like a place in the market, it doesn't exist, because it only is able, I mean, the way that the system is set up is it depends on the sort of whimsical affect of the rich people's charitable, you know, donations or whatever. That leaves the power in the hands of the capitalists. They get to choose if this work gets made, if this theater, if this art, you know, and we can't government subsidize controversial art because, well, piss Christ, that's our tax dollars. We don't want it to go towards some kind of immoral, you know, dirty work. This is not a good system, is the point. It shouldn't be rich people choose what exists and what thrives and what, like, that money should be spread all around. These theaters across the country should be empowered. Like, Actors Theater should be equity, or, you know, it should be, there should be resources behind it. Every city should have a number. It should have its own culture, and that culture should be to ask the local community to support it financially through their own, like, capitalist choices is also not working. You know, people go to live music, they buy the merch. You still can't make a living. You need a solid, you need security, for one thing. This is what they have in fucking other countries, man. In Europe, I knew a guy from Belgrade. He went to a 4-year theater school. He got a job in a state theater out of college, making a living, having health insurance, the whole thing. Like, in so much as that does exist here, it's extremely tenuous because as an actor, you're job to job. As any kind of theater person, you always have to be getting the next job. There is no security whatsoever. Like, building something like that is not like a social... It's not... You want to call it socialism, like it is, but it's also just like... It's just like having a functional society. Like... It's been so portrayed to us that the best thing that can happen is to like get rich and achieve the American dream. Like, that trumps out having stability, security for everybody. We need to have competition. We need to have winners and losers, because your dreams can come true. And you think you're going to be one. You're going to put out your music. You're going to, be some entrepreneur. You're going to make money. You're going to hit it big somehow. Not in this lifetime. Alright, is there anything else I need to talk about? There's always more. Well, I don't know. Thank you for watching. So Frankly Fabulous in the Ides of September. Do the right thing. I don't know. I mean... I'm learning and responding in real time. I think there's a lot to be said for trying to make things as fair as possible and to level the playing field, and that includes taking rich people down. But it also includes not just like replacing them with some other kind of, wealth or power structure, or, at the expense. Like, we're in an attention economy, right? So when people are not paying attention to you, not only is that painful, like psychologically, or to your ego, or to your heart, but it's also just like, well, you're not making any money or making a business out of your personal brand either. So, and also, what will people do to get attention, That's what a lot of this violence and shit, shootings and stuff is. People just trying to get attention. So how do we distribute that evenly? I mean, why not just socialize sex work? Pay women to go on dates with us. The government should tax the rich. And then give the money to women that have to go on Hinge dates with me. I don't know. Are people having sex? My impression is that... I mean, I think paradoxically the Trump era was when people went nuts with sex. To me, it was the opposite. I thought, oh God, this guy's president, I better hide. let me just. But everybody's having sex parties and being ethically polyamorous, and now it's like the opposite. Now everybody's like, well, maybe I'll become a monk. Maybe I'll cloister myself away. Oh, I've only been in pandemic quarantine for a year and a half. Might as well, let's just keep not having sex. I haven't been within 6 feet circumference distance of another human being in a year and a half. Let's just keep this going. This is nice. I keep thinking of the Phil Leotardo line from The Sopranos, and this will be what I leave you with because it's such a good one and kind of crass in a way that I can't seem to avoid. But Phil Leotardo lamenting his 20-year prison sentence. I was in prison. I wanted to fuck a woman. I jacked off into a tissue. I wanted to fuck a woman. I jacked off into a tissue. I think we can relate. I think everybody can relate to that. Maybe. Maybe not, people at the Met Gala, but the 99% of us who live paycheck to paycheck, sexually speaking. And the paychecks are getting fewer and further between. I'm getting older. Nobody wants to hire me. Alright, that's enough. Goodbye. Good afternoon.